Art thou ready?
Yes.
Today, I am here to give you the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something that our world is desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis is Catholic Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined, is not a man.
You guys have upped your game.
You know what, guys? I gotta say, I love the concept of Man Show.
Warning: the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your glass. It feels good to be on the winning side. I'm Adam Minahan here with David Niles. We do not have Jim. We do not have Juan. We're soloing it tonight. I guess we're not soloing it. You can't say soloing it with two people, but we are doing. We're without.
I think you can say
Jim.
it. I think you can say it.
Okay.
Which is did.
I did.
You did say it.
So
nothing even happened when you said it. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like everything was fine afterwards.
So
after you said it.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really too bad because we're drinking a Bowmore 15-year scotch this evening, and I just know that this would be crazy high on the yummy scale.
For Jim.
It's
yes.
crazy high on my yummy scale anyway. Well, I don't know. Does he like smoky and peaty stuff?
He doesn't like super smoky and peaty, but this is the beauty of the Bowmore 15,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I mean, because this is a smoky whiskey, but it's not Lefroy. It's not like an Isla. Typical.
Well, because it's like it's in sherry casks. That's what I was trying to say. Like it's aged in sherry casks.
Right.
So it's a Bowmore 15 is an exquisite sherry cask finish that develops rich layers of rich peated smoke at a complexity of 15 years old. It says
things are just better when you age them in sherry. I mean, like I age my own children in sherry, actually.
How is that? Really?
Yeah, it's just better that way.
They're having a red tint coming.
Everything is better.
Yeah. Okay.
Aged in sherry.
Okay.
Except, you know what's not all that good? Sherry.
So yeah, there's like dark chocolate, sun-dried fruits, wisp of Isla peat smoke, cedar, some coffee. The finish is warm, robust, and complex, with just a hint of sherry tannin.
It's delicious. I mean, there's just no way to.
We've had it before. We're revisiting it this evening.
We just felt like it should be revisited.
It's such a good one for. Here's why I like it. Not only is it very delicious and it's great for wintertime because it gives this smoky sweetness combo, but also Bowmore's just so underrated. There's like, if you go to somebody's house and you're like, hey, let's get a bottle of scotch, and he pulls one out of the cabinet. Most of the time, it's always, you know, if it's a peated scotch, it's like Lefroy or Ardbeg or Lagavulin, you know, which all great. Not complaining about any of those.
No problems.
Yeah. But if you pull out like a Bowmore, they're like, wow, what is this? Like I haven't had this before. And there's also one Bowmore Darkest is what it's called, and it is just absolutely delicious as well.
It's fantastic.
So
how much was this 15? Because 15 years, that's an aged.
Yeah, I think it's about.
It's probably got to be expensive.
I think it's about $95.
Not that bad though, for a 15-year scotch.
Yeah,
it's under $100. Mm-hmm. Really, that's pretty good.
I was talking to my whiskey guy at the liquor store the other day, and I was asking him, I was like, man,
the guy you have on retainer.
Yeah, basically. I was like, guys, you're stock is low. Like your inventory is pretty low. What's going on? He goes, well, typically what happens is at the end of the year, everybody tries to hit their quota and they try to get rid of all of their inventory. And then January, hits and they haven't re-upped yet because of their books, and they're trying to unload inventory and, an accounting deal where they're trying to unload inventory, keep up their costs,
right.
Cash flow issues that probably would be my guess.
Because I have a checking and a savings.
And the debits and credits.
Yeah, because the checking and the savings.
Yeah. And so he said, like, typically January is a tough month to get anything. And then he said, but what the problem is right now in Scotland is they're waiting to ship full containers instead of like half containers and things like that, which a lot of people do. Like a lot of distilleries do. They ship half containers because the container's really, really big, right? He's talking about a lot of scotch.
Yeah.
And so they said, like, no, they're waiting on it because the cost of it traveling here it's gone up so much. And then by the time it gets here, because the ports are all
thanks, Iran.
Yeah, I don't know who to thank for that, but
well, they're like pirating people in different parts.
Yeah, well, the ports are all backed up, and so like by the time it actually gets in and it gets through,
it all builds on top of each other. And right now, they're like they're like going around the southern tip of Africa instead of. I mean, it's like it's a huge deal.
So anyway, he said like
if ever there's a reason to go to war. It's
not this, but
it's so that the Scotch people can get their shipping better.
But he did say expect whiskey prices to be going up in March.
Great.
So just word of the wise, just trying to be charitable and spread the news that I have.
So buy it now.
So, Dave, okay, so you have also pigs that came. We talked about this.
Yes.
And how
we have 19.
19
They all made it. They're all doing great.
Yeah? Okay.
It's been fun. Everybody knows that I have pigs. People that I have no idea who they are have been coming up to me saying, "Hey, I heard you got pigs. That's great." And
so
it's
what happens when you talk on a radio show.
I was at the play.
Oh yes.
Yesterday. So here in the Tulsa area, there's a big. It's one of the annual events I really look forward to. Mm-hmm. It's the Classical Catholic Drama Club. It's for homeschoolers, and they put on this play by our buddy and friend Ken Henderson, who's been on our show a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And he does such a good job. Mm-hmm. The set this year, have you been? Mm-mm. I didn't think so. You're feeling better now. You were sick, but now you seem better. That's good. So I was at this play, and there's a bunch of people there. Several people came up to me. Almost everybody I saw said like, "Hey, how are the pigs?" It's like somehow everybody's. And there was one lady who I have no idea who she is. Mm-hmm. She came up to me and was like, "Oh, I heard you guys have pigs. That's got to be so fun."
The Catholic Man Show we're pulling really strong in the old lady category.
I know.
So
I mean,
totally. And I thank them. I love them.
Happy to have them as listeners. I think that they're very great.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're right though. It's just been a tough.
You've been down with the sickness.
It's been a tough start to the year for the Minahans, to be honest.
Yeah, all of you were sick.
Yeah.
Is Lady Haley feeling better?
She's feeling better, but she was down basically like 7 days, which is just brutal.
With having a fever.
Like we were all like having 103, 104.
I got a fever.
And it's terrible to have a fever, right, and be sick and be like all you want to do is lay down, and then have kids that are like wanting to play and run around. It's even worse.
And who they still want to eat and stuff.
It's even worse when you have to make super sick and they're super sick.
Yeah, dude.
And then it's even worse if you're super sick, they're super sick, your husband's, the husband's super. Everybody is sick. No one can do anything, but they all all the kids want to be on you, or be cuddling and things, and all you're thinking is like, I really just want.
Please don't touch me.
Yeah, like an hour and a half to
you need to leave.
Be by myself because I feel so bad. Anyway, it's been a tough couple 10 days.
Did you offer up any of it for my sins?
Not for yours. No, I specifically actually said. Not your sins.
No. Lord, whatever you do, don't you dare give no grace for Dave. He's a jerk.
Ooh, that is a great T-shirt.
No grace for Dave. It could be also like that's a good band name.
That is a good band name, yeah. But yeah, man, it's been so what happens, right, in the family life when your families are sick, all of your routines get thrown out the window. Like all of your routines get thrown out the window. And then what happens when your routines are off is that you're not disciplined anymore because you're not expecting certain things. You're not like, there's no order in your home because everything is off. And so you're not disciplined to keep that order because you're all sick. And so you kind of like, your children just are off, with either behavior or just like eating and just everything. Right. Everything is just off. And so, man, it's been one of those weeks because you also want to be sympathetic because everybody's sick.
Right.
Not to be harsh. You want to be a loving father because I want our Heavenly Father to be a loving father to me, and a patient father to me.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're trying to get back into the routines and the grind and establishing order again. And it just seems like you're just really like you're swimming upstream. You're fighting against it just seems like you're just fighting against everything. And so what I thought would be good today would be talking about something that's really important in the family life, the 4-letter P word, not pray, but play.
Gotcha.
So when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about family play, and then we're going to get into a topic that we'll probably come back around.
Wonderful.
Be right back.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. With Adam Minahan, we're drinking the 15-year Balmore. It's just fantastic. This is in my top 10. Right here. We're talking about some family life stuff today. Playing. Mm-hmm. The benefits of playing. The hazards, which are actually some of the benefits.
Yeah, so what? Here's why I was thinking about this, and what kind of spurred on wanting to talk about this with you is that I don't know about you, but like when you're trying to establish order again, what ends up happening is that you're just, for those who are just tuning in after the break, when you're sick and your family's kind of been out of sync and you're trying to get back in sync. What ends up happening a lot of times is you become no fun dad.
Yeah.
Right.
I can be no fun dad.
Yeah, I can be no fun dad. And so it's more of like, you're more of the militaristic dad at the time.
I turn into no fun dad if I see that Lady Pamela is stressed out. Like if the kids are wearing her out, that's when I turn into no fun dad. It's like I'm coming in and I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to die.
No one's getting out of this alive. Yeah, and so like one of the things that I always try to bring back, okay, is like let's get family prayer back going. Let's make sure we're praying before and after meals. Let's try to develop again our habits that we have in prayer, because a lot of times when you're all sick, those habits, those times don't happen.
Right.
And so one of the things that I really feel, and maybe have been just feeling guilty about as a dad recently, is as I've been trying to put together this order again, what ends up happening is that it becomes dad goes to work, dad comes home, we have dinner, we get things cleaned up, we do our homework, we get ready for bed, we say our prayers, and we go to bed. Mm-hmm. And then like these are the things that we're doing.
The beatings will continue.
Yeah, until morale improves.
Right.
And so we're just like, it's this and then this and then this and then this, and then at the end of the night you're like, okay, good, they're finally in bed, and you're like, I didn't really even really have any meaningful time with the kids.
Uh-huh.
And so some of the things that I was thinking about is like,
although you can't discount the stuff that you did. So, it is meaningful.
It is very meaningful. Like, obviously keeping a routine prayer life is very, very important.
You don't want to fall into the trap of thinking, and I think a lot of people do this, that the meaningful stuff in life is like, oh, when we can go do special things, like go out to a restaurant, or when we are doing like playing, or it's like, and certainly those things are meaningful, but also it's important to keep in mind and remember, no, actually making you do your homework, that's a meaningful fatherly activity, right? And that's what, like, people who grew up without a dad, why is it that they're so worse off in life? It's because no one made them. It's stuff like this. No one made them do their homework. No one made them make their bed. like the stuff that dads come in and enforce. They're incredibly meaningful. Yeah, and I know that's not exactly. I know that's not what you were saying, but
it is important.
I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, what is it? Jocko Willink talks about like this all the time, right? Discipline equals freedom. Right. If you actually want to be free, like if you want to be able to choose, the opportunities. Like
if you want to eat, if you want to snack less, stop. Just snack less.
Right.
Like if you want to stop, whatever, just stop it.
Right. And so, like, while it is incredibly important as fathers to establish a prayer routine for our family, to make sure that we're spiritual providers for our family, it's also very important to have the opportunity to push them on a natural level, right? To have fun with them on a natural level, to play. Grace builds upon nature, and so it's important for us to be human, and have real human time together, and play. Have this leisurely time, developing their imaginations and pushing them to past the points where they think they could be pushed, and realizing these things. So I just put together like these 5 benefits of roughhousing with your kids, which I think that, I'm a dad of mostly sons. I have four boys.
I think these things are especially important for boys.
Yeah, but I also think that they're very applicable.
They definitely apply to girls.
Yeah, so I have 4 boys and a girl.
But 10 times more, I think, for boys. Yeah.
So I was just thinking about like as a roughhousing actually with the kids, and thinking about like what is the good in this, and like what benefits is this providing. And so here, you want me to just run through all 5 of them, and then you want to talk about them? Or
however you want to take it, bro.
I mean, yeah, we'll just try. So I think the first thing is like boundaries are established, right? So you have set rules, like these are the things in which,
because we're playing,
right?
Hey, this is what we're doing. We're not actually fighting,
right? So you're setting, this is the beauty, some of the virtue of sport, right? Is that we play a game, but we're in confines of the rules of the game, and so in order to win, you have to stay within the rules, and to play the game the right way. So
I mean, this is this is one of the most basic things about playing. So for young children, especially like under 7 years old, playing is their job. That's their work, right? And this is one of the things that they learn is about the interpersonal communication skills, about respecting other people's ideas, about how to get your way along with their way, right? It's like, okay, here's the rules. Because if you watch playing, especially, this is something girls, you can really see a lot in girls. First thing is, okay, I'm so-and-so, and you're so-and-so, and this is where
right.
And so like they establish all like the rules for what is going to happen and who does what, and then they carry on from there. And you don't think about it, or you just, until you really think about it, you don't realize how many important things are happening
within that.
Within playing, and how important it is.
And the what they learn, right? This is the same thing. Like what you learn, you take these skill sets, on to college, of like learning. Like, here's what you do in college. In the business world, of like, here's how you stay within the ethics of business, and here's how you don't. And like,
it's basically like, hey, every relationship that you have is, if it's healthy, it's because it was built on these building blocks that you established as a child,
right?
In playing. Okay, I'm me, you're you. This is how we interact with each other,
right? Which strengthens the family-child bonds. This is the things that the memories that are built, the trust relationship within dad and child.
Yeah.
Of that we are playing within the rules. We're playing within the boundaries. We're having fun together. I trust that you're not going to break the rules, Dad. I trust that you're not going to try to hurt me too bad. Like that we're going to.
I also try not to, but sometimes.
Right.
One of my favorite things as a dad, especially like when I'm tired, I will just lay down on the floor. Okay? And there's something about doing that like the kids see you, it's like, Dad's on the ground! Like, get him! Right? All of a sudden, basically all your kids are on top of you. Mm-hmm. And there's sometimes I'm just like tired, and I know that they want to play, so like I'll just lay down, and they'll like jump on you and roll on you, and
then you can like put a leg and pin one down, and then another arm
right,
and pin another one down, and you're just kind of like laying there.
Or maybe like they'll be on you, and you just kind of like shake a little bit, and they all fall.
Right.
But it's kind of, I just bring that up because I think there's like something about that it strengthens the bond, and just like there's just something about it, because basically what you've done is you've come down to their level.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's something spiritually significant about that, about the Father descending to it's almost incarnational, right? That Christ came down to become one of us. Mm-hmm. I don't want to oversell that.
Sure.
But there's something to that. It's similar to, I think it's important, and I have to remind myself this because I hate doing this, but like giving horsey rides, it just hurts, okay? Like it hurts your knees to do it for more than like 30 seconds, okay? But the fact that you as the dad, who are in charge, nobody doubts that, the kids certainly don't doubt it, would come down and essentially like be a servant now to them, and they, like they're steering you around, right? There's just something about that is, I think, spiritually, it's a spiritual analogy. I think that kids don't realize what they're learning at the time, but they need to know a dad like that. I think we need to be those kinds of fathers, because that's the kind of father that we have.
Yeah.
And so we need to try to model that for them. And also they love it. So.
Yep. Another one is also physical development. I think this is very important. To, like you're pushing yourself. You're doing things with vigor, and like as hard as you can, and it just develops the person. But the last two, I think, are actually possibly the two most important in my opinion. And in the first, and one of them is emotional intelligence. It develops their emotional intelligence, because inevitably what's going to happen, at least in the Minahan house, is someone starts getting beat too bad, or they kind of get a little bit hurt, and their passion of anger or embarrassment or something flares up.
Yeah.
And they want to act upon that passion. They want to rage. They want to, they want to try
to become Achilles.
Yeah, exactly. And it teaches them that you can't do that. No, we have to still play within the rules.
Yeah.
And then the last one is risk-taking and resilience.
I really like that one. We should save that one for when we come back, because I think there's a lot to say there.
So I think, so boundaries, strength of bonds, physical development, emotional intelligence, and then the last one's risk-taking and resilience, which we can talk about on the other side of the break. Playing with your kids and the benefits of roughhousing. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We're having a little bit of Balmore 15, talking about the benefits of roughhousing with your kids. We're drinking this Balmore 15, though, in the Catholic Man Show Glencairn glasses. If you go to patreon.com/The Catholic Man Show, become a patron, $10 or more a month, we are going to send you a Catholic Man Show whiskey glass for free as a thank you gift.
Laser etched.
Laser etched. with lasers.
With lasers.
I want to give a shout out and thank you to all of our new patrons. The last month or so, we've had an increase in patrons on Patreon.
Thank you, guys.
So we're very, very grateful.
You know what? We really yes, our patrons. We wouldn't be able to do the show without our patrons.
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff around is because of them.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to somebody. I have no idea what his name is.
It's tough to give a shout out to.
But
somebody.
I'm giving a shout out to this gentleman. I was on a daddy-daughter date this evening with my oldest, Elizabeth, and we were at Society Burger.
Oh yes,
delicious place to get a hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
And on his way out, he came over, and gave me $20. True story. He said, "Hey, I just saw you guys here. I have a daughter, and it just like really made my heart happy to see you guys here. So I want you guys.
Here,
you
take
guys,
my money.
Here's 20. Here's I want to buy dessert. Here you go. Go get a milkshake on me.
That's awesome.
And it was very generous. The guy was. It was a very pro-family thing to do.
Yeah.
I didn't get a milkshake, okay, because it's Exodus 90. But I can tell you, I was close.
Dude, you should have done it.
I mean,
with your daughter.
She had a milkshake.
Oh, okay, good. You went to get one.
Well,
your daughter.
Yes.
Daughter. Okay. Good.
I just didn't get one.
Okay, gotcha.
But I was sitting there thinking, like, well, gosh, like to really honor this man's generosity, I should get one. We should get one together. Mm-hmm. The thing is, kids do not care if you have a milkshake. Okay, they just don't. I know that you think like, oh, we are gonna go get milkshakes together. They just want a milkshake. Yeah. Okay. They don't give a flip if you have a milkshake. All right. Let's just be honest.
They don't at all.
They don't. And so like if you're trying to convince yourself during Exodus 90 that you have to have a milkshake, otherwise they won't really enjoy theirs.
Yeah.
You're a fool.
Yeah.
So anyway, shout out to that guy. Thanks for the $20. The thing is, I had already bought her a milkshake when he gave me the money.
So you recouped your cost.
Yeah, exactly. Plus some. Yeah. It's not that expensive of a milkshake.
Nice. So we're talking about before the break. We were talking about the 5 benefits of roughhousing with your kids. Just some things to think about, like why the importance.
So once again, they are boundaries being established, strengthening the bonds, physical development, emotional intelligence, and risk taking and resilience. I noticed you didn't put number 6 on here, which is obviously establishing dominance. Yes.
How did I know that's what you're gonna say?
Because obviously, when you play with your kids, it becomes very apparent. Like, yep, Dad is he's way stronger than us.
I'm just like, this is just. I was just thinking about this.
I like to do feats of strength, where I like pick the girls up with one hand.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's like, all right, now you try.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't even do it. It's because Dad is the king around here.
But it does risk taking and resilience. You had something you wanted to talk about before that, because like it does, like as you're roughhousing with their kids, the kids have to be able to understand, like, is this the time to attack or not, or like is it
totally.
Like,
so and once again, this is where I think, especially with boys, this is so important. Do not send me emails. Okay, I do not care about the emails that you're going to send me. I know girls need to learn risk taking too. Okay, and resilience. I have 4 of them, okay? But it's just more important for boys to learn this. There is something about boys that, God made us to be risk takers. You are never going to go to war if you haven't learned to take risks, okay? So you're never going to be able to defend your country, to defend your family, right? If you're not willing to take a risk, especially a physical risk, right, where it's like, oh, I might get beat up or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is probably actually, now that I think about it even more, is more of like developing the virtue of prudence.
Sure. Yeah.
Like when is the right time? Like when should I do this or when should I not?
Mm-hmm. Totally. But like this is why, like the reason why boys' car insurance costs more is because they tend to be risk takers. Okay, more, yeah. And when you're doing risky business behind the wheel of a car, well, sometimes you crash.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's just important to know, to learn these. The earlier I think you can learn, these things about, hey, I took a risk, it paid off. I took a risk, it didn't pay off, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more experience you can get under your belt, the earlier, the better you're going to be by far. And if you just think about success in life, how many successes have you ever had that didn't involve a risk?
Right.
Okay. Maybe you received some gifts from some people. Okay. There was no risk. Someone just gave you something. Like, let's say someone just gave you $20 at a restaurant. Okay. That's not a success, though. That's just someone giving you $20.
Very nice. Yeah. Great success.
Okay. So if you look at the successful people in the world,
right.
Okay. And, we don't need to just focus on secular success, but we do want our children to grow up to be successful, right? In life. So learning the payoff of taking a risk and the consequences, right? So that you can learn the right risks to take. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously a lifelong journey, something that, you never really get it 100% right, but that's right. Okay. The more calculated you can be with your risks. Risk management is something I do for a living, with investments. And you just don't, most people really don't understand how important managing risk is in life.
Mm-hmm. And it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can work so hard for something and build something over your entire life, and then just like you said, it could just be gone.
Yeah.
And so this is so important. And also, I think that's why it's okay to let kids, give them wooden swords. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna die. All right. Worst case, maybe broken finger or something.
There's a lot more worst cases than that.
You're right, but I just mean realistically, But it's okay, I think, as long as they know, number one, about the boundaries being established.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then it's okay to do some of these other things, especially with boys, where likelihood is you will get hurt.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
because you'll be fine,
and you got to be resilient, which is something.
Resilience, right? Yeah. Exactly, and I think that is really important. That's the important part of risk taking.
So you like the list?
I do.
Nice.
I would also have added establishing dominance, but because obviously, when you sword fight your brother, maybe you win, maybe you don't. When you sword fight dad, you lose. Okay, right. You just always lose to dad. I do not let the kids win.
Right. No, me either. No.
I mean,
no.
Because I'm the dad.
Right.
Dads win.
I do think that there's obviously benefits of roughhousing with your kids. It can be taken to the extreme, but I don't think that extreme is where we're at as a society, that we're taking that too far that way of the pendulum, pendulum. So anyway, I want to talk about that, and then I wanted to talk about kind of either how we get discouraged, either in fatherhood, in the spiritual life, just in whatever work that you're doing. I reread The Intellectual Life by Sartre Lange at Clear Creek when we went to our retreat, which is a book that I just think I will try to read every year if I can. Every year I've read it. I think I've read it through it 3 times now, and every time I'm just like, man, this is just what I should be doing.
It's not very big. I mean,
No.
it's not a pamphlet. It's a book, but it's not a super long book.
He mentioned 3 things, and he mentions them.
If he were smarter, maybe he could have written a longer book. I don't know.
He's pretty smart.
I'm just kidding.
And he mentions them in passing, and I didn't even catch the first 2 times that I read through the book. And this last time it really caught me. And then just this week, as we've been trying to get back into the routines, and there's a sense of when you're down, discouragement kind of sets in. The devil can use things of the natural world that are happening to you in your life and your family, to kind of creep in and to sow seeds of doubt or discouragement or just being kind of not depressed, but just down a little bit, right? Looking things from a negative view. And so he talks about, Serty Lunch talks about this, about like how do we get discouraged? And so I was thinking, and he's more thinking from a spiritual aspect, right? You know, how do we get discouraged from a spiritual aspect? And we decided to, like, obviously sin, what is sin? Missing the mark. You know, there's Joseph Pieper has a beautiful book it's called The Concept of Sin, and it's like, what is it? It's basically, it's a void, right? It's the lack of, it's depravity of good. Mm-hmm. It's missing the mark. In fact, Joseph Pieper talks about how he quotes Homer in it, talking about one of the first times that the word is used in Greek is when one of the soldiers throws their spear and misses the mark. Mm-hmm. It's just like, well, like, so how do we get discouraged? Like, how do we, like, not see the light? How do we not, you know, go with the way, the truth, and the life? Who's Jesus? Like, he's already told us, like, this is the way. I'm the truth. I'm the light. Like, just follow me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if he's already given us the formula, how do we get discouraged and miss it? So I want to talk about those three things when we get out.
Very good. We'll be right back. Ready? Mm-hmm. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show with David Niles. Here with Adam Minahan. We're talking about family life. We talked a little bit about beating up your kids. That's not what it was.
No.
With a pillow.
That would be okay. Yeah. Roughhousing with the kids.
Roughhousing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah.
Distinctions.
Right.
And now we're talking about being discouraged.
Like how it happens.
How it happens.
Yeah. How.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, you know, I think, yes, you were making the point about Jesus has showed us the way. What's the problem? The thing is, you know, we are experiential creatures, and we often base our assessment, our personal assessment on things, on results. And you just are going to go through periods of time where you just don't seem to be getting the results you expect or want. And so I think discouragement is a natural thing. It should be expected, right? It's unreasonable to think that you are not going to be discouraged at different parts of your life. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean that's just not a reasonable expectation.
Right.
In fact, that's the kind of expectation that will get you discouraged.
Sure.
Thinking that you won't be discouraged. So, because we tend to base our assessment or, you know, our feelings about things based on results, how things are going, well, sometimes things just don't go your way. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get discouraged. I mean, I think that's...
Yes. And there's so many things I want to encourage you to pay attention to these three things and how closely these are related to near occasions of sin. How quickly the near occasion of sin can set in with these things.
Can I tell you something before we get going?
Sure.
I love near occasions of sin. I say that I don't actually love them, but when they come, have you ever had this just want
to be tempted just a little bit?
Yeah, I kind of I'm not gonna do it, but I just kind of enjoy being tempted. You know, It's like, oh, yeah. And in knowing
it's a darkened intellect. That's what you call it.
It's called utter depravity.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I do know what
that
you're
is
saying.
just, and then later on, like, God, I feel so bad about it. But I actually don't love the near occasions of sin.
Okay,
but I
understand.
I have enjoyed them.
Yes. So, like, one of the things he says about like how we can get discouraged is that our vision of the goal grows dim. So, like, what we set out to do, like what the end is, like it grows dim, like we can't see it anymore. Right,
yeah,
and
that's
so
interesting.
And so it's like, oh, well, that's very. I mean, how many times in business have I like in my personal life when as I've been going through like in my business profession, thinking about how much work that I've done to this thing and then realize like all this work that I just did has nothing to do with the goal that we were trying to actually accomplish. Like it was just like work that we were trying, like it was just work, but it wasn't the means in which to get to the goal.
Right.
And so a lot of times when that happens, when it gets convoluted, when things get distractions happen and like other work gets interwoven into your daily life that actually isn't part of like what your goal is for that day, that goal gets dimmer. Like it becomes less top of mind. It's no longer as clear as what it was. It just like it's not visibly in front of you.
Yeah. This is why I think it's so important to write stuff down. And I think this is something important, and I actually rarely do it. When I actually do it, it's amazing how effective and helpful it is. And I always say to myself, I should do this more often. I should write everything down. But having those...
I'll write that thing down tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not going to write it down right now.
Yeah.
But I think I'll remember it.
I'll probably remember.
Yeah. I don't need to write that down because it's obviously so important.
Right.
I won't forget.
Right.
But having like, whether it's, hey, here's the 3 things I really need to get done today, and writing them down. It's amazing how effective that is and how quick you can do it because it helps keep the goal in front of you, like right in front of your eyes, especially like, I'm a man, I'm a very visual person, and so having a visual is very helpful.
Yep.
Whether it's your goals for today or whether it's the like goal for the year or like if it's a New Year's resolution, whatever it is, just having it to where you're going to see it. I do think that sometimes those kinds of if you have too many of these things, they do kind of become stale, right? It's sort of like the marketing effect, right? Where you have to, you can become blind to it, but if you're writing down the stuff, the thing is, the stuff you write down, you should be able to cross it off.
Right. That's
because
correct.
it's not just a poster. If it's just a poster, then its effectiveness will wane very quickly, I think. But if it's a working list or a goal, right? The word's like, yes, accomplished. Crossing stuff off a list, dude.
Feels good.
Oh man, it feels good.
Yep.
So I just think it's just very, very important. And I think it also helps with being discouraged because it's it refocuses you.
Right. And you see accomplishment. Accomplishment, is kind of a remedy of discouragement, right?
Yeah.
When you feel like I've done something here, it helps with this discouragement. So our vision of our goal grows dim. The second one is the fruit of effort is too distant, or it seems too bitter. And how often is this with our spiritual life, right? That I want to get holy, just not yet. Because oh Lord, make me chaste, just not yet.
Yeah.
I want. Oh yeah, Lord, I want to be virtuous. I want to have a solid prayer life. But I just prayed for 45 minutes straight, and I didn't even hear what you had.
It's the thing is, I want to be this man of virtue, while I sit on the couch and drink beer all day.
Right.
Okay.
Can't we be both? Right.
Can I not be both?
Right.
Okay.
But this is it seems like the work that you have to do is too hard, or the work is not worth it in and of itself for the end.
Yeah. Delayed gratification is another thing that it is so important to teach your children about. And there's fun ways. There's a lot of fun ways to teach your kids delayed gratification, but at some point you have to have them do something difficult where they persevere and achieve something, and then finally there's this big payoff.
But the payoff should be the achievement.
Well,
that's
it probably is. Yeah, it should be. But in the beginning, it depends on how old your kids are. A reward might.
I'm
good.
talking about more
but
passage type of thing.
Yeah, but as they get older, virtue is its own reward.
Right.
And so the achievement and just the gratification that comes from having done something well,
right,
should be the reward.
And really, this is just nearsighted.
But I was talking about though, teaching your young children
delayed
gratification. because it's sort of an irrational concept, right? That, well, no, I want to be rewarded now, right? The idea of putting in work for something I'm not going to be rewarded for, because a child's vision is so narrow. It's very near, very nearsighted.
Same.
And so, yeah, I know I'm the same way. And I think about this in my spiritual life too, that, I don't think that at some level, I'm just not convinced that the rewards of heaven are worth it, because I find myself.
Okay, well, hold on.
Am I jumping the gun?
Yeah, you're jumping the gun there. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
well,
pause.
I mean, I do think that
it's
that's
very
part
true.
of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very true. But this is the thing with the instant gratification culture and things like that you want to see, like, Lord, I have, for the last month, I've prayed every single day. I haven't seen the fruits yet.
Yeah, I'm not even levitating.
Right, and like St. Monica's over here, like, I've been praying for 30 years for my son to convert, and he finally did. But this can be discouraging, right? When you don't see this fruit immediately, or the fruit you think is not as good as what you expected. But this is not what the Lord says, right? He said the Lord doesn't tell us that He's like, oh, I'm only going to give you, like, if you give me a little bit, I'll give you a little bit. That's not what He says.
Right.
That we have a generous Lord, a loving Lord that's going to give us, 10, 20, thousands, hundreds, infinity like times what we give Him.
In fact, it's the only time He says in the Bible to put Him to the test.
Yeah.
He says, when He's talking about tithing and like giving generously, He says, test me and see that I don't reward you tenfold, right?
Right. And this is kind of the end. This is the last one that you were talking about, and you kind of hinted already. Like, so the first one was vision. That the goal, you don't have the vision in front of you. The goal is kind of dimmed, and you don't really remember what your goal is, what the end of man is, or like what the end of what you're trying to achieve. The second one is the fruit. Your fruit doesn't seem like it's actually happening, or that it has happened, but it's not as good as what you thought it was. And then the last one is like you have this vague sense of you've been duped. This is the lack of trust. That, like, maybe this Lord who's told me that eye has not seen and ear has not heard what God has ready for those who love Him. Maybe this is all a ruse. Like maybe like all this work that I'm putting in is all for naught.
Yeah. Which I think everybody has had that thought occur to them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what if I'm just wrong? And like,
all this work.
What if there is no God? What if
all this work my life that I've dedicated to, like, I've thought about this for a lot of the monks, and the religious, like, who have done this, like, at the end of their lives, how much the devil is probably like tempting them to think this way. Right?
Sure. Oh, I'm sure that is one of their big temptations.
Yeah.
Because they've given up a normal life.
Yeah. So we're out of time on Catholic Radio. Shout out to Red Sea Radio, our friends in Texas, who have like a whole Catholic radio station that's geared towards sports and virtue as well. Go check them out, Red Sea Radio. We're out of time on Catholic Radio, but check us out on a podcast. We're on the Lord's team,
the winning side.
So raise your glass
and cheers to Jesus. Yeah, so I still think that, like, what I was saying is more of about like number 2, because I don't really feel like I've been duped. What I was.
Well, yeah.
What I was saying.
You were saying, like, actually, like, oh, this isn't as good as what I thought it was going to be.
No, it's that I don't think I actually intellectually I believe. Okay, intellectually I believe in heaven, and like, but throughout my day, there's like part of me that is just, I realize, not fully convinced, because I continue to do things that are contrary to this intellectual, to the belief that I hold with my mind.
Mm-hmm.
My body doesn't believe it. I don't believe it on some level, right? Because I don't dedicate myself to penance. I don't all of these things that would be like increasing my reward in heaven, right? I find myself doing the opposite of those things very, very often. And it's because of, I'm a sinner. I struggle with concupiscence.
I got problems.
I got problems, okay? I got problems. And so just when I think about it, it's like, yeah, I guess I'm just easily convinced in the moment that the reality of heaven isn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I know it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that I need to continue to learn the benefits, the glories of delayed gratification, because heaven is the ultimate delayed gratification, right? I mean, that's it, right? And that, oh yes, someday in heaven, the suffering I endure now will merit me 1,000-fold or whatever, right?
Right.
And it will be my glory to have, and everyone will be able to see, like, oh, there goes Dave and his like who bore the life of glorious suffering, I say that like it's,
Wow, I was like,
or there goes fill in the blank.
Yeah.
There goes that guy who was such
he
a
didn't even have a milkshake with dinner tonight.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Like, I'm gonna get there and St. Peter's gonna be like, here's 12 milkshakes.
Yeah,
this is just for that one. All right, but I'm gonna have to take 4 of them back because of the other stuff. You know what I'm talking about. And I'd be like, that's still very,
I'm up
you know
ahead.
what? I still feel it's very generous of you, St. Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the essence of this is a lack of trust. Like, do we truly believe that the Lord desires our best interest, or do we not? Do we really believe that He's given us everything that's needed for salvation in the sacraments and in His church, or do we not?
Mm-hmm.
And if we do, then we should take the sacramental life of the utmost importance. And if we don't, then kind of like what Flannery O'Connor says, like, if the Eucharist is just a symbol, to hell with it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that it's good to think about this, like, from just from the angle of, if you understand what's happening, then you're able to assess your situation in life better, and then you're able to, like, either redirect or feel like, oh nope, this is what's happening, and this is just part of human nature, and like, it's okay, and we can move on. But if you don't know, if you don't think about it, and you don't stop and think about, like, okay, why am I actually discouraged right now? Because a lot of times I think I'm discouraged for the wrong reason, right? So I'm discouraged because I didn't get my way.
Yeah.
That's why I'm discouraged, or that it's hard. It's like, well, I didn't want it to be hard. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, a book I really recommend for this kind of thing is The Discernment of Spirits.
Yeah. Is it Timothy?
Gately?
No, Gallagher.
Gallagher, yeah. Yeah. Excellent book. He and it's all about St. Ignatius and his like way of discerning things. And of course that in the book he talks more about going through dry.
Someday we should talk about this, like, on a separate podcast. Maybe not even separate. Maybe not on a podcast, but like you and I would, like,
just like on the back porch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, remind me about this.
Okay. But he talks about going through dry periods in prayer, desolation, consolation. But it's very similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being discouraged is a form of desolation.
Yeah.
And what he says is you need to become yourself, reflecting upon yourself. And I have found this to be incredibly helpful, to where it's like, all right, you have to have this. You have to have the awareness to say, like, hey, you know what? I'm discouraged. You have to be able to, first of all, just stop and recognize it. Say,
right.
I'm going through desolation. I'm discouraged.
I'm a little beaten down right now.
Yeah, yes. And then almost like pull yourself out, and then like look at look at yourself, and then analyze the situation unemotionally, right? Just simply reflect on it. And usually when I do that, I can immediately identify the cause of what's going on. And now, because I've identified the cause, I can, either like change direction, or
right,
I can do something to fix it.
Yeah, you have a remedy. You can come up with a remedy.
And sometimes the remedy is I just need to endure it. But I still now, because I have recognized the problem, and it's like, no, okay, yep, this is just the way it is. You know, if you're walking home and it's raining, you're just going to have to walk in the rain. But it's okay because this still makes you feel better about it. It's like, okay, because it's just until I get home, and then like I'm gonna change clothes and everything will be fine, and whatever. So sometimes you do recognize that I just need to endure something.
Yeah.
But having that recognition that this is not going to last forever, and that it will be over at a foreseeable time or whatever, it still makes the desolation or the discouragement, it's not hopeless anymore. Because you might still be discouraged, but you can have hope still, even though you might be discouraged.
Yeah. And one of the ways, to get out of this discouragement, this is kind of a way we can wrap up. He talks about, Serty Lunge talks about this, like that the need for the support of others, the need of community, that we're made for communion, we're made to have community around us, and their example and the exchange of ideas to fight against all the maybe the moodiness that you have or the perceptions that you have. There's been so many times, Dave, like there's been like where I've been upset and feel like this guy has just wronged me, and I'll talk to you about it and be like, bro, can you believe he even did this to me? And you've come back and be like, well, actually, the reason why he did that was probably this, and this, and I was so blind because I felt like there was an injustice done to me that I couldn't actually see, like, well, actually, maybe this isn't really what happened. This wasn't what reality really was. It was just what I perceived that the injustice was being done to me. And so this is the importance of friendship, right? The importance of having other people
that happens to everybody. You're like driving.
Yeah.
One time, this is like not that long ago, I was trying to pull out of a neighborhood, and it was just an unusual string of cars. It was like coming from the left. Oh, and when the left, there's finally a break. It's like, oh, there's unusual from the right. And it like went on for like 2 minutes, which is not very long, but when you're sitting there, I remember like getting upset about this, like, this is unjust. Like, how dare this happen to me? Like, like it was just, it was totally ridiculous.
Right.
But it was just like, what? I don't deserve this,
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is the importance of...
you have to have friends to put you in your place. Hey, Dave, you know what?
It's okay, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be fine.
Yeah. And so this is kind of like what St. Augustine talks about when he talks about the importance of friendship and the need for friends. He talks about the flow of sympathy. And this is something that I had a conversation with Dr. Chad Pecknold on. If you go back and look up the Catholic Man Show and Chad Pecknold, I had a beautiful conversation with him on this idea that St. Augustine puts forth on the flow of sympathy. But St. Augustine is in the yard when he's a young kid. He's in the pear orchard, and he steals his pear, and he reflects on it. He steals his pear not because he's hungry, not because he needs it, not because anything other than for the sake of stealing it, and because why? Because his friends were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's sitting there, he's reflecting. It's like, well, it was this flow of sympathy. Like I wanted to sympathize with these people. I wanted to be a part, and I wanted them to be a part with me.
Mm-hmm.
I desired this communion with these people, and so I wanted to do what they were doing. And so, like, then he talks about, like, when he was a Dantist, or Manichaeist.
He was a Manichaeist.
Manichaeist, yeah. I'm sorry, not Dantist. A Manichaeist, and this desire of like wanting this intellectual life, and like I want, like I'm doing this because I think you're really smart, and I'm and I want to be really smart, and like. This idea of like I want to do this together, and in this flow, he calls it the flow of sympathy. Like, because as humans, we're made to be a part and desire. Like, I want to be loved, and I want to love, and I want to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so he talks about this flow of sympathy, of a friendship with one another, and like what the friends and people you surround yourself with. like have an ultimate effect on how you act and behave and your character. And then obviously, like, you know, whenever he's with St. Ambrose, you know, like when he started
to pick good friends.
Yeah, when he started realizing, like, having virtuous friends around him, like this flow of sympathy also it affects both in a negative way and in a positive way. So anyway, I just think that it's obviously it's important to have friends, but like we should really think about, you know, this idea of like, well, why do we do things together? Like what like we're in communion with one another. Like what are we doing together?
Yeah.
And is it building us up or is it not? So anyway, I mean, ironically or unironically, some of the benefits of roughhousing with your kids, like some of the lessons that you can actually learn from that, also fall into like lessons that we can learn as we get discouraged.
And what's kind of funny is if your kids are discouraged, if you can tell like, hey, they're feeling discouraged, if you roughhouse with them, it tends to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a connection.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it would be good to talk through that.
Very good. Very good. Are you feeling discouraged, Adam?
No, I was earlier this week. I mean, this week.
The whiskey helps, huh?
The whiskey helps a lot.
It does. I'll tell you.
I mean, obviously, when we do our shows, right, is like a lot of things have to do with like, well, what are we dealing with right now in our lives?
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And so, if you actually go back and you look through like the titles of our shows, you can actually probably tell like, oh, this
what kind of phase we were going through.
Right. So
that is 100% true.
Anyway, appreciate the patrons. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.